Hey, it's Chris. Today we're going to be continuing. So I ran into the problem on the last video with the GraphQL mutation. It wasn't working. This one right here. So we're going to keep plugging away. And let's get into it. Alright, so let's look at the code. So we've got this GraphQL, and let's go ahead and throw the refetch queries on here. It takes an array with the query name. It's going to be the same query. So we've got one function for creating items that are already in the database, and we have another one for creating items that are new and then in the database. Let's move this up. So it is close to the same function. I'm just going to throw it right underneath. So this uses the create item, and I don't actually want people setting whether an input is, or whether it's published or not. That's going to be done on the server. So we don't trust people. Sorry, people. So if you're watching, please say hello. So we've got this going in. Let's not require the create item input. And let's see, we've got this as create item. You know what? We're using the same mutation name. Let's create a new one. That way it's different. Create item. And user item. And I believe that can all be the same, which means we need to change what this one is. Let's copy the mutation. So the way this is going is they add the item. Yeah, let's go back over what's happening. Let's see, search bar. So they add the item to the input in the form. That gets sent down to the item search cell. Item search cell checks GraphQL with this item search query. If it comes back with no items, it will then offer. So if the items by name length is greater than 0, it will show items. Otherwise, it will offer to add the item at the bottom. So that then it creates the name. That gets sent up. Sorry, that's a lot of back and forth, isn't it? That gets sent up to this function, create new item, which then calls the create item and user item, which is part of the GraphQL mutation. Then that maps to a new function that we need to create. So let's see if we're getting the data that we need. Let's check that first on the server. So we'll go ahead and require auth again. Console log. It might even complain about this. And right now that's only working on click, so we'll need to work on something else as well. So let's see, what do we need? Cheese. Create item and user item is not defined. Oh, yep. So create new item. Oh, this one stays create item. And then it's that gets updated. Sorry. So you know what, let's get rid of the empty in here. Or I'm going to move this to the bottom because we might end up using this later. So I think that that's sufficient. Sorry, what I was thinking about was whether we should rename these so they match. Yeah, let's do that. Just so it's easy to troubleshoot this in the future instead of searching around for Alright, let's see if we got it all. Oh, well. Can't declare multiple times, can we? So we'll leave that one as create new item. Let's see. Tasty treats. All right. Variable input of type create input used at position expecting create item input required. I think this complaint is from the SDL. Create item input. Okay, so this first complaint is saying that it needs to return something. So that's in the mutation. So let's return the ID. Tasty treats. ID. Oh, I'm trying to use a keyboard shortcut, which we haven't connected yet. So ignore that. All right. Variable input of type create input used at position expected create input required. But we got rid of the first error. So so I required it on one side but not the other. Okay, so this time it received tasty treats on the server when I took that required flag off. So now GraphQL's complaining that we can't return null from the server. So that means that we've ferried this through the schema definition list. I think that's what it stands for. Here, let's see, Prisma SDL schema definition language. There we go. The list. So tasty treats is being received on the server. So now we're sort of through for the moment with the schema definition language file. Where are we at? So this is which item we're working on. If not a canonical item, create it and then add to the grocery list. So now we need to let's write out what we're going to do. So we need to check if it exists. The item exists. We need to create the item if it doesn't exist. We then need to create a user item and connect that with the user. And then we need to return the item. So that's what it's expecting. All right, so input is coming in with tasty treats. Well, with name and tasty treats. So let's destructure name out. Const so let's make this an async function. So it's not blocking. And we can pretty much just copy this. Now, actually, we don't want to use contains here, just because. Let's see, Prisma, where we don't want to create the same exact item. We don't want duplicates of the same exact item. But say I typed in tasty, and that's what I wanted to create tasty, and someone had already created tasty treats, then it wouldn't allow the input. So let's this shows what where options are available. So we're gonna say equals. So this is strictly checking whether something equals. And say const item exists is equal to await. So we're not blocking on that. So if the item exists length is equal to 0, we're gonna create the item. Const item. We might have to restructure this later if we run into some issues, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's get it working first, and then we can work from it. So if the const, we're gonna await db.item create. Data. And well, I think we could take input here. Just go back up to the top. So this is the original creation one, so we can create that. These need to move inside. And let's see. Now we need to create a user item. Now the user items are in the user item services. So let's copy this. I'll look at it in the other one. So, okay, so first we get the user, so we need to import, get the user from the server. Save this so it reformats. Okay, so first we get the user. Then okay, so we don't need to find the item again because we've already got the item further up in the scope of this function. So the user item, we're going to create it, item name, picked false, current user, and then we connect it. So we connect this all in the same one. And here's where we do the return, but instead of returning that, we want to return the item. I'm not sure that that matters so much. I'm not sure that we would use the item having returned it. Okay, so look at that. It's already documented, having put the pseudocode in first. Okay. So let's check the function. Let's refresh it. Tasty treats. And that's added. Great. So basically we're creating the item. So now if I search tasty again, that does show up. So now we need to go. Okay, so let's say where we're at, because that's a good save point. So create new item and add to item. User item. And the repos at csls/grocery if you're interested. I think the link's in the notes. So we've created the item. I see that we also need to go to the item search cell, and once that item is created, we need to set the query again, so it drops that function. So let's just copy that. Again, this is defined in the upper scope in the, what was the cell? In the search bar component. So now what else should we get? Cheddar. And that cleared it. It's down at the bottom. You know, maybe we should do a reverse sort on those. Okay. Hadn't planned on doing this, but let's sort that. So see how we sort it in Prisma. Order by, and so we need to do that by the user items. So we've got the where, order by. Let's do, and this will probably change when we've got more stuff, but for right now, I'd like to order it by the, let's see, created at descending. Let's see what happens when I do that. There we go. So now they should show up at the top. So milk, yep, right at the top. So that's all I'd really planned for today. just to go over some of what I still see that we need to do. We've got duplicates in here, so we want to prevent adding duplicates. That shouldn't, I'm already in here, that shouldn't be too hard. Maybe we can go ahead and do that. So find if user item exists. Let's just find one, because it's like the difference between going through the whole collection. Where, so we're going to be looking on the user ID, current user ID, and then also whether, let's see, the item name item ID, because we've got the ID and that's specific. Is equal to props.input ID. Well, you know what? That's on the item. If user item exists dot is that autofilling? Okay, let's see what happens when I it's not liking something at 22. See an error. Okay, Prisma user item. Okay, so something's wrong with my schema. User ID. Oh, I'm not doing this right, that's why. So where equals current ID and where this equals item ID. Okay, so those are the famous last words. Something should be simple, right? So user items SDL. So the problem that Prisma is having is it doesn't like these weird conditions. Let's switch this to a find many. It may just be that I'm using the wrong search. Okay, so that just added it then. So look, it's finding all of the all of the times that I've added milk to this. So what we're gonna do is if user item length is greater than 1 or is greater than 0, let's return user item exists first ID. Okay, so it's returning the ID without adding anything. So basically we've prevented adding multiples of the same item. But now we should get rid of a lot of these. So I think that's what we're going to do in the next one. I'm tired of seeing milk. How many times? A lot of times. So we're going to put on here how to remove them from the grocery list. So thanks for watching. We will be back soon, I guess. Probably not until next week. I've got to do some things this weekend. So I hope you have a good weekend, and we'll catch you next week. Take care.